Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. Let's see, let's get started today now. Okay. Welcome to the 34th Annual Peer Mediation Conference, Adventures in Peer Mediation. The Peer Mediation Conference has been bringing together youth peer mediators ages 8 to 18 years old for over 30 years. This is the first year the conference has gone virtual to connect peer mediators around Hawaii and others aspiring to develop their own peer mediation programs. My name is Jose Barzola from the Matsunaga Institute for Peace at the University of Hawaii, Manoa. This year's Peer Mediation Conference is brought to you as a wonderful collaborative by 22 different organizations, which the previous slide showed, around Hawaii that support this conference that is spread out throughout the month of April. The Peer Mediation Conference consists of an opening panel, 16 skill workshops, and a closing panel. You can learn more about all the events at matsunagainstitute.eventbrite.com. Today's event will focus on a skill workshop on story in the virtual round, active listening, listening, and hearing with Noelani Anderson. Thank you again for joining us to learn about peer mediation skills. This session is an opportunity to use prompts to create stories and speak back what we heard to train our listening muscles. We will also use improvisation to create stories in the virtual round to practice staying in the presence of listening without anticipating how we will reply. This will be an engaging and creative workshop that will leave you with tools to train and expand your active listening skills. Just a little heads up, we will be using the breakout rooms, so you will get an opportunity to actually speak with other people in the audience, as well as so if hopefully if you're on the computer doing this, it's a great opportunity to engage a little further than sometimes on the phone. So without further ado, though, I want to introduce our wonderful speaker today. Noelani Anderson is from Hamakua on the island of Hawaii, and currently holds a position of peer mediation coordinator at the West Hawaii Mediation Center. With a background in peace studies and theater education, Noelani enjoys finding innovative ways to approach conflict resolution using art, culture, and the nature around us to inspire creative solutions. Well, to get us started, I'm going to turn it over to Noelani. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jose. Hi, everybody. Aloha, good afternoon. I'm here in Waimea on the island of Hawaii. I welcome you all from wherever you are coming from. I do invite you folks today to turn your camera on if you're able to. We will be going into some breakout rooms, so the participation is kind of a little bit on you guys. So I would love that. If you're not able to, if you're somewhere where you're not able to, understand that as well. But hopefully you'll be able to participate when you're in the breakout rooms and just let the people in your room know what's going on with you. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Like Jose said, my name is Noelani, and I am the peer mediation coordinator here in Waimea at the West Hawaii Mediation Center, serving kind of from Lapoihoi all the way down to South Kona. And I have a background in theater education as well. So a lot of what I do has to do with teaching kids and using theater in applied formats. This year, because it's been such an interesting year, I've gotten to work with Aloha Teen Theater, as well as the Kona Dance and Performing Arts Center and Kahili Theater with the Prince Dance Institute in creating ways to approach conflict resolution using things like script and story. And today we're going to be doing a couple different things. We're going to be starting with kind of a lead-in activity, and then we're going to be playing an improvisational storytelling game. So hopefully that'll be a tool that maybe you can use in your classrooms if you're teachers, or in another capacity if you're educators in some way, or if you're a student, something you could bring to the classroom. So here's my little slide. We are going to start with an exercise. If you've ever played it before, it's called freeze dance. It's pretty easy. When the music plays, you dance, and when I stop the music, you freeze. It's actually really fun. I play this with my kids all the time. Usually I'm the one doing the music, so I don't get to dance as much, but we play it in a little bit of a competitive way. And one of the things that I like about this game, especially with my kids, is it's an attention focuser. There's stakes. So I put here the stakes. When we're listening, often if there's no stakes for us, if the stakes aren't high, then there's not really a reason that we feel to be engaged. If it's something that's important to us, if it's something that we need to know, we're more likely to listen. once there's not really a state, once we're not a stakeholder in that listening, we tend to end up tuning out or focusing on something else, which I'll get into in a bit. But one of the things about this freeze dance is that it's really just asking you to dance when there's music and freeze when the music freezes. So if I could see everybody, I'd be able to pick a winner. But this can also, you can use it as a way to just get kind of out of your chair. If you want to dance in your chair, you can dance in your chair. If you know Marvel, this is a Marvel reference. I'm dancing in my chair. Oh, I see some dancing. Okay. I've got the rolly chair. It's so
Everybody's in the play, and don't you know, it's a beautiful new day. Hey.
freeze. Oh, people are, oh, okay. This is like one and only people with their cameras on. So yeah, everybody kind of lost that round. Everybody I could see. So we're gonna try again. And when the music stops, you gotta freeze, full stop.
Running down the avenue, see how the sun shines brightly in the city.
Oh, I see friends jumping in. I love that.
Mr. Blue, sky is leaving here today.
Oh, we kept moving. Okay, we're gonna do one more round. So remember to listen. As soon as that pauses, you got a full stop pause. My 7-year-olds are like experts at this. I have faith in you guys.
Hey! Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong?
It could be the camera being a little delayed too, but nice job, everybody. Claps for everybody. If your camera's not on, I hope you were dancing, and I hope you love Marvel, because that is the intro to Guardians of the Galaxy 2, if you know it. So that's just one of the ways I like to warm up, especially if I'm doing, really, it can be with any kind of workshop, getting people moving. You can play it competitively. If you're with ages like 7 to about 11, it's pretty effective. They still like it. That middle school age, they can kind of think it's not cool, but some of them get into it. So it's a good exercise for the youngers, and you can really scaffold that into why listening is important and come back to it when you're doing like an actual lesson and be like, remember when we did freeze dance and you stopped? Then you had a stake. It was like a competitive game. There was a reason to stop. You had a reason to listen. So that's just like one of my little tricks to give you guys. You probably have used it before if you're an educator, or, even in like a math classroom, even in really any setting, these kind of games can be a good focuser. And you can always reference things that are like pop culture hits, and then the kids like love it. My classroom, they love Billie Eilish, for example. And so if I play Billie, then they're all into it and they're present all of a sudden. So that's another way to utilize it. I have to catch my breath. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about the listening gap. This is not really a workshop so much about the science and the neuroscience behind listening, but it is something nice to keep in mind, no pun intended, that our speaking rate is 150 words per minute. So I can get out 150 words per minute to folks. But our listening capacity is 450 words per minute. So that doesn't just mean listening to people, that also means listening to our own thoughts. So we can conjure up a whole spinning wheel of things in our mind and be listening to our own 450 words in our mind and only be able to speak 150. So it's just an interesting thing to think about. And we want to find that listening capacity, especially when we're listening to others, in a way that's really taking in everything they're saying and not taking in our crazy minds with all their 450 words. So there's a little gap there of 350 words per minute. I put up this picture of the Pu'eo because if you were in the opening panel, I had another picture of Pu'eo, but native owl to Hawaii, they have such an interesting way of both seeing and hearing they're seeing is only right in front of them, so then their heads can turn 350 degrees and their ears are like way down into the back of their head. So it's just kind of interesting and just presents like, okay, we can get creative with listening as well. And then one other thing I wanted to share before I get into exercise is two things that I found really, really helpful in talking to the students about with peer mediation. It's always kind of like an aha for them. And it was an aha for me when I first kind of conceptualized this and heard about it, which is that, you know, there's a lot of ways. We're talking today about active listening, and there's a lot of ways that we aren't actively listening, but they mostly fall into these two categories. The first being busy listening, when we, you know, appear to be paying attention, but we're occupied by another thought or even another activity. So, you know, these days, especially when we're on a Zoom call and we're like, okay, perfect, I can multitask. I can listen to the Zoom call. I can do my taxes. I can answer my texts, like all at once. Your mind's not really gonna, you're not actively listening in that case. So in terms of busy listening, the phone is a big one. The phone is a big one. I have mine pretty far away from me and on vibrate right now, so that's like out of sight, out of mind, so I can stay present. You know, with mediating and with teaching now online, it's really hard to engage our students. So I'm just really honest about it. I'm like, everybody show me your phones. Okay, show me where you're putting your phones. And I have people like follow me with their cameras and put them far away, just so we can just be honest about it instead of kind of ignoring that they're a thing that we all use. So that's one, busy listening. Another one might be something that has nothing to do with another actual physical thing. It might be, you know, that you have to go to work later or something, so you're already thinking about that. So busy listening, there's so many kinds, but really it's that you're there, you're active, it looks like you're listening, but there's all these things going on, whether physical or in your head. And we're going to keep coming back to being present today and how to have exercises that'll help us stay present with listening. Another one is me too listening. So I find this to be really common, something I do a lot. You know, I'm like, hey, Jose, how was your weekend? And he starts telling me about how he ate like Japanese food. And then I'm like, oh, I also ate Japanese food. Like, let me tell you about the Japanese food I ate. So when we immediately kind of want to share something about ourselves. And I really love this quote. I've heard it in various capacities, and I'm not sure exactly the source because I've seen it and kind of paraphrased in many ways. If anybody knows the source, you're welcome to pop it in the chat. But the quote is, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. So, you know, just when, as you're listening, and I give you guys this homework, today we're doing some tools, but I'm also going to give you some homework just to notice when you're doing either of these. And it's not to be, you know, at all give yourself punishing or anything, but it's just to kind of notice, to do a little homework throughout the day and just notice when that happens. And also not only when it happens, but what the circumstances are. So like if you notice that you're thinking about, you know, work or something when you're on a call or chatting with a friend, is it because you already knew that you overbooked yourself and so you're already going to be late? Or is it because you know, so to kind of think about, or is it because you didn't have time this morning to do like whatever sets your day up right for you, whether that's meditation or yoga or eating a good breakfast? Like to notice throughout the day if these two types of busy or me too listening come up, and notice what are the circumstances around me right now, what's going on, and what at this point in my day, how could I have set myself up in a way that I could be more present. Yeah, great thing. It was popped in the chat box. It's a really good one. I'm trying to move the chat box. Okay, there we go. So there's other quote I like. I tend to really love, I love quotes a lot. They're quoted for a reason. So we are too busy listening to our thoughts. We don't hear the wonderful words surrounding us. So another kind of little piece of homework I give you all is to go out into nature and start to really listen, and even close your eyes and see the furthest sound away from you. And maybe that's like a bird, or if you're near the ocean, maybe that's the ocean. And then slowly let your mind come back to the closest sound near you. So although we're working on interpersonal relationships and listening, I think that I found in my life, and I'm also a yoga teacher and I work with kids as well, but I think that, you know, it's something we can practice all the time in any context, and especially in nature. So got 2 homeworks so far. So we're gonna go right into our next exercise. So I want you guys to think about something. This is for audience participation. Let's see what time it is. Let's go. We'll just do one quick example. Maybe Jose would want to be my my example person. Thanks, Jose.
Yes.
So I'm just going to do one example, so then we can go out into breakout rooms and you folks can do this yourself. So Jose, can you tell me something that is important to you right now and why?
That's a pretty heavy question, but the first thing that comes to mind when someone asks important, I would say my kids.
Right on. So your kids, do you want to tell me why?
Should say when or why? Oh, why?
Why?
Why? Basically, my whole life kind of revolves around them, and I mean, I've heard about that from parents, but experiencing it is very differently. So every decision where I may, prior to parenthood, it's like gotta think 2, 3 times about it. Or like if, there's a great conference or trip to go on, obviously pre-pandemic, it would, before being a parent, it would have been like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go. This is great. Now it's like, do I really want to be away from my kids for, that many nights kind of thing. So, I mean, they're young, and I every other parent tells me like once they are enjoy it now before they get older, because they may not necessarily want to spend time with you when they're older. So with those tips in mind, yeah, just trying to enjoy every minute, basically.
Cool. So kids, change, experience, enjoying every moment. Those are like just some things that really popped out to me. And this is kind of what this exercise is going to be about as I pop you guys into the breakout rooms. A lot of times when we're talking about mediation, we go through things like clarifying, paraphrasing, reflecting, summarizing. So like I could summarize back what Jose just told me. But instead of doing that today, I just want you guys to be really present with the listening, and then repeat back to the speaker what, like a handful of words that just jumped out at you. It's kind of like a building block to becoming good at summarizing.
No, I just want to let you know that you are muted right now.
I'm definitely muted. Thank you so much. I was definitely muted. I had a really funny joke about Zoom and listening, but nobody heard it. So basically, I just wanted to apologize if you guys got cut off, like me and my group did a little bit. We were having a great time, but I do want to give you guys like one more tool that I find to be really fun, especially for the educators. But before we go on into this next exercise, did anybody have like a comment, or maybe drop in the chat how that went for you guys? Any questions? Cool. I'm just going to assume it was like amazing then. And helpful. And so I'm going to move on to our next exercise. So this is actually a game that I use with kids in storytelling. So it's called Fortunately, Unfortunately. Has anybody ever played this? You could raise your little corner hand if you have. Yeah, it's a great storytelling game. So it's called Fortunately, Unfortunately. And we all know the adverb, the definition. I just put it in there so that everybody has it. But fortunately is the adverb version of being favored or involving good luck or fortune, being lucky. Unfortunately is the adverb of having or marked by bad fortune, being unlucky. So The way this game works, and you're going to go into the same room. So if you got cut off last time, you'll be able to say hey to your neighbors again, to your roommates. Oh, I just made that joke up too. That's kind of funny. Your Zoom roommate. So the way this works is one person starts, and you start with either one. You can pick fortunately or unfortunately, and you make up a fictional story. So I could say, fortunately, or I'll start the story with once upon a time, because we're gonna go there. Once upon a time, there was a magical snake. And then it will pass to the next person, and they might say, fortunately, the magical snake had the power to teleport. And the next person might say, unfortunately, the only time he could teleport was at night. And then the next person, who's fortunately now, might say, but fortunately, he had an amazing, like Eddie Bauer headlamp, so that when he teleported at night, he could still see what was happening. So I'm making all this up. I don't know. But the idea is that in your group, when we do storytelling, and especially improvisational storytelling, I'm going to come back to this, there's stakes. Because like if Jose gives me a story about unfortunately, I have to listen to what that is to know what to do next. Now the key is, the reason I love this game is every time you say fortunately, unfortunately, it's like a plot twist, like a ping pong story. So you can never anticipate it, because if I was like, okay, we're gonna do like a one word, each person has a sentence and we're gonna do a story, you might already be making up your sentence in your head to add it and doing that busy or me too listening. And this game kind of requires you to stay fully present, because you never know what kind of plot twist is going to happen. So I think that example was pretty good, my own personal example. Did anybody have a question about how this goes? Great, I'm going to give you practice. So we're all going to start with that same line. Actually, I'm going to give you a new one because I don't want anybody to start thinking already. I'm going to give you the line. I just love Once Upon a Time because it's space and time continuum. Once upon a time on a planet very far away, there was a mouse. There was a mouse. I like animal stories. There was a mouse. Once upon a time on a planet far away, there was a mouse. And then you guys pick who starts with unfortunately, unfortunately. Hi, everybody. We're back again. And we only have 2 minutes left, and I want to be really respectful for everybody's time, because I know that in these days of Zoom, we have things like, I think things are like more scheduled than they used to be nowadays. But I hope you all had a really good time with that activity. I know in my room, we had this like wild story about a mouse with a tail that went all over the place. But really, the point of that exercise is just to notice how, we talk about active listening, especially in mediation, about like listening to this person and taking in what they have and summarizing it. And to remind ourselves, especially with students, that active listening can be really fun and it can be really creative. And if we go to that source first and then we scaffold onto that, the other skills in our conflict resolutions programs, then it's really helpful to just get them again engaged and find the stakes. When we're telling a story together, there's stakes involved. So I just want to leave you with this. There's a couple of beautiful pictures from where I'm from, Waipio Valley, and then this hike back behind the house. So I mean, this is conflict resolution. We all love Nelson Mandela. And I love this quote: I learned to have the patience to listen when people put forward their views, even if I think those views are wrong. You can't reach a decision and dispute unless you listen to both sides. So, when we're listening to unfortunately and unfortunately, it's like this fun, silly game. But with our kids, that can even be a scaffold into, creating those skills of being able to listen. So I hope that everybody had a really good time and is able to take away some tools with them today that are helpful in whatever capacity they work in, or if your students take this back to your classroom. I think maybe we could leave a minute for questions if anybody had any questions. Stop sharing. Look at the chat. If anybody has a question in the chat, I don't see any questions, but I do see some chats about the sharing. And yeah, it really is interesting to see what people hear, because a lot of times what we think people are going to hear is not what they hear. And that's a whole nother thing about the words in our head, right? So that exercise, that first one, I really like, because it acknowledges that the way people see us is not always how we see ourselves. And that's really important in conflict resolution as well. So thank you all for being here today. I hope you have some tools to take with you in your respective spaces. Much aloha from Waimea. Near and far, we have somebody all the way from Mexico, so mahalo. See you guys all maybe in another one of these trainings or workshops. Mahalo, everybody. Aloha. Thank you, Linda. Have a beautiful evening or day.
Thank you so much, Noe. I just want to give you a few words. Thank you so much for providing us this wonderful opportunity during the skills workshop, as well as I know you have a couple more skills workshops, I believe, next week with us during the month of April. So I truly appreciate your insights into peer mediation, your approach as a peace builder, conflict resolver, but most of all, your passion and kindness and all that you do. And just such a quirky, creative way. I love this, and I wish I had been in one of those breakout rooms, and I look forward to collaborating with you, definitely moving forward. Last but not least, thank you so much to everyone joining us today's webinar. We deeply appreciate your interest and support in joining us to learn about peer mediation programs throughout Hawaii at the 34th Annual Peer Mediation Conference of Interest in Peer Mediation. Just a friendly reminder, we still have 12 more events left in the conference, so thank you so much for all of you who've joined us and continue to join us. Be well all. Take care.